Well, as much as I don't want to do this, I got to give you some more information about the Orlando gay shooting down at the Pulse nightclub. Well, first off, I want to tell people, yes, I did see things about them carrying a victim towards the club. There wasn't like blood on the guy's leg, and then they set the guy down. They're laughing, and I saw them carrying a wooden or a dummy one time. But don't go down the rabbit trail too far. There was a shooting. Definitely was. They might have been using something else besides actual victims. Don't go too far down the rabbit trail, because when you tell people there was no shooting, you're really looking like, you're taking one fact and you're drawing another conclusion from it that's erroneous, okay? Don't go down too far down that rabbit trail. Now, actually, I did bring out some facts. Unfortunately, one of these links is dead. It was from the Washington Post. It was on a 2005 obituary of George Wackenhut. Doing this from rote memory now. Wackenhut is actually where GS4 was formed from, where Omar Mateen worked for 8 years. The Wackenhut Corporation, formed by George Wackenhut, was always rumored to be and had been investigated by Congress as a CIA front company. It used to have in its employ, and of its high directors, Bobby Inman of the NSA was in Wackenhut, which was later named G4S. Also, Frank Carlucci of the CIA, very famous names, and Clarence Kelly of the FBI. It's loaded with former CIA, FBI, and NSA, which also tells you, these are the government people. This is an agency, a high security company, the biggest global security company in the world. Omar Mateen worked for 8 years. Well, the idea now is like, since this happened, Obama and Hillary's claiming that they want to disarm Americans. Well, the other way around, it actually should prove that the government needs to be disarmed. I want to make that freaking point, because, people are making points where they're putting on defensive. I'm putting on offensive, because it's not a conclusion, and I'm not going too far down. I'm not even going down a rabbit trail. That was from the Washington Post on a guy's obituary, which is complimentary. It tells you, really, if you just Google G4S war crimes, currently right now, you'll find a lot of stuff. Okay? That's what Omar Mateen worked for. Now, there was another article that popped up. I want to get onto this in a second here. Right now, it was James Wesley Howell was picked up in California, and the police chief, Seabrooks, I think it was, Seabrooks, that's her name, doing this from memory, I'll give you the link on the article, initially stated that he had guns and explosives, and he meant to do harm to a gay pride parade in California. The real story is he was supposed to be the other part of the operation, whereby he was going to do killings to gays in this gay pride parade in California. At the same time, Omar Mateen and this other guy, he only knew the first names of the people in Florida, and he had this James Wesley Howell had an accomplice. He turned himself into a local police because he realized when Omar got killed, he realized that he was set up to be killed. That's how the story goes, okay? I'll give you the link to the article, and you could say it's a conspiracy theory, but I want to get on to something else. It's the thing I gave you about the background of G4S and being dirty, involved in a lot of things. That is not conspiracy theory. Can you apply it to this directly? Well, you better freaking have pause for thought, okay? If you weren't born yesterday. But the article actually goes into, they changed the story that he was a prowler and all this stuff, but there's there was a gag order put on the police department, and the police chief, she was a woman, right, that they could not say anything about this James Wesley Howell, or else they'd be under federal prosecution. But two of the cops bravely said what was really going on. He was planned to do harm to a gay pride parade in California. At the same time, this Omar Mateen was shooting up the place in Florida, which I'm going to get onto about that too. Now, the other thing is, G4S just recently, and you can look this up from Judicial Watch, and I'll give you a link on that below in the comments and also in the information box. G4S, and you notice YouTube, I'm not freaking pushing conspiracies here, because You know, I'm giving facts. I'm giving really good knowledge here, okay? G4S has been recently caught red-handed by Judicial Watch with in conjunction with, actually it was the Department of Homeland Security also using G4S, dumping off non-Mexican immigrants, other than Mexican, they call it other than Mexican, OTM, whatever it is, other than Mexican illegal immigrants deep within the side of the country. They suspect it could be Honduras or something, but they could be, Muslim jihadists too. Nobody knows who they are. They're not Mexican. They're being dumped deep within inside the country, by the Department of Homeland Security, an agency that's doing the exact opposite what the taxpayers are paying them to do, and using the security company G4S to accomplish this. Who caught them? Judicial Watch. This was an article, I think it was June 4th, 2016, before the Pulse shooting, the Pulse nightclub shooting. Now, the other thing is I want to point out, the Pulse nightclub shooting was taking place for hours before they called the SWAT, or I think it was the FBI hostage rescue team. And I'm going to comment on that too. But first, I was like wondering, why are the cops not, and you know what? Don't mind this flag, because I'm really like thinking, the hell with the, people don't think this is racist if you're black and you're watching this. I got to point that out. I don't think that's racist. I think all these alphabet agencies and all these authorities out there, it's like fight the power, man. We got to be independent. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. I'm not even looking at it from the old traditional sense. That's the seal of Florida, the great state of Florida. Seminole Indian, in God we trust, and all that, right? Which could be guns, ordnance, and destructive devices to fight the power. But the police took hours. They didn't try to, I don't know what they did exactly. They were trying to talk to this guy, but he was in there for a few hours. And I'm like, I don't understand this deal, because me, okay, I was a jarhead. I don't want to play like I'm Joe Marine here or something, but I would have tried to take the guy out myself. I mean, I don't see what the big deal is. It's not like if you're trying to hit a target 50 yards away, I got no problem hitting a target this big with a 45. No problem. And I don't get what the hell the deal is, why they took so long. So eventually, I'm going to provide another link. When the SWAT team came in, I think it was the FBI hostage rescue team. I call them, I really look, after this event, I was basically pro NSA, CIA, and FBI. And, this is the final straw. This is the final straw, because, people within the agency all got to know what's going on with this bullshit. It's not like a few bad apples. It's like it's rotted all the way through to the core. And I can tell you that, even when we had the show, you remember the show, The Untouchables, a long time ago? That implied something. Back during the day, that's really, where the FBI came from. The Untouchables was a core element of people that just couldn't be bought. It also implies that everybody else could be bought. So in other words, everybody else that was being paid to protect the public was being paid off by the bad guys. That was the vast majority of them. They could find a little group called the Untouchables. They couldn't be bought with Elliot Ness, right? And, it's supposed to be a thing where, oh yeah, it makes the FBI look great. But, if you think about what that means for the rest of the FBI, it ain't cool. It ain't cool. But here you got the hostage rescue team, or, SWAT team. And I'll show you another clip. And you can start playing it from 22 seconds on. They must have fired like 200 or 300 rounds inside of 5 seconds. It was ridiculous. It was like holy shit, a whole bunch of gunfire going off. Take out one guy, they probably killed people, man. They likely killed people. Besides what the shooter did. And on top of it, I noticed stories about they caught it on the major media. The guy was holding the door. Saw that clip from the major media. The guy was holding the door closed. It's a setup, man. And, first thing out of Obama's mouth and Hillary's mouth, he said, hey, you take the guns and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, you need to take the guns away from your security deal, Obama. You need to take the guns away from all these alphabet soup agencies. CIA is communist infiltration agency, because now they're obviously pushing communist policies in this country. The CIA and the Drug Enforcement Agency, anybody's got half a brain that was in the military long enough that knows people that work with the Drug Enforcement Agency, no, they're involved in bringing drugs in this country. Sorry, I knew this from when I was in the Marine Corps. Many times over, from everybody I talked to, I used to know people in recon and people in the government, you know, they used to be able to get any weapon they wanted without serial numbers that were in recon, like in Marine Corps. I'm serious. It's like there's no rules for them, but there's like rules up the yin-yang for, you know, regular people. I don't know why the hell the cops didn't freaking go after... You know, it's like they're real good for giving traffic tickets, but when there's a real problem, it's like, hey, we better stand back behind our barricade and talk to this guy with a megaphone. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to say what I would have done because I didn't do it yet. You know what I mean? But I think more than likely I would have tried to take the guy out at risk to myself. You think I'm full of shit? Fine. You think I'm full of shit? You know? It's easy for me to talk right now in my chair. Fine. Yeah, okay. I don't think I would have freaking sat back on that shit. That would have freaking pissed me off. The first thing I would have been doing is aiming in on a cocksucker and trying to get in a position to take him out. That's immediate the way I think. As a matter of fact, the gun or the rifle or the pistol, you know, it's kind of like I got away from it a little bit because of the accounting for a long period of time, but I always felt it an integral part of my being, as part of my body. I embed my psyche into that weapon. That's how I shot Battalion High Shooter. You know, it's like the Force, you know, before Star, that was whatever, not Star Trek, but it's almost like, you know, martial arts, you concentrate really hard to do something and it makes it happen. You hit something, you try to hit through it. You do the same thing with the weapon. You actually put your concentration into that weapon and you fire better. I don't think about, you know, this guy would be in there doing that shit. I would just think of him as a target and take him out. Now, obviously, he was betrayed by the CIA, according to James Wesley Howell, who turned himself into the California local police. What was it, San Bernardino, whatever, forgot her name, the police chief's name, C Camp or whatever it was. She's not saying nothing, but a couple of the local cops said something. So I'm putting this out here real quick, and also want to tell you, yeah, I told you the thing about G4S bringing in other than Mexican illegals across the Mexican border and dumping them deep inside the country. Oh yeah, they used to be, even in Wackenhut's obituary, they used to, his company, which, you know, later was named G4S, it was Wackenhut back then, his company was employed as security guards or correctional facility guards in Texas jails. They lost their contract because some of his guards got indicted for raping female prisoners. Now, they're just a bunch of wonderful people, huh? I mean, hopefully YouTube, you find this advertiser friendly. I don't think it's going anywhere because I don't really like doing these kind of videos too much, but I got to address this situation. I also got to address the situation about people going too far down the rabbit hole with the, you know, with 911, there's a lot of shit you could say about it. Better off just concentrating on Building 7. And then there's a lot more, but you got to really hammer with Building 7 because that building didn't get hit by a plane. With this, you got to hammer on what G4S was caught doing in June, bringing in other than Muslim immigrants. Also, other than Mexican immigrants, who the hell knows what they were? They were Honduran, maybe they were jihadists, I don't know. And other than, and also the history of G4S when it was Wackenhut, was later run by George Wackenhut. You gotta, it was investigated by Congress previously as a CIA front. Not by the alternative media or anything. I'm talking to Washington Post. It was right in the obituary on freaking Wackenhut. I'm also this story surfacing about James Wesley Howell in California, that he realized is Omar. He recognized the two first names. There was an Omar and some other first name. Those are supposed to be the other shooters in Orlando. When he heard Omar got killed, him and this other guy, he had another accomplice. They were supposed to shoot up the gay parade, and he turned himself into the local police, and asked for protection because he figured the CIA was out to kill him. Who the hell needs a CIA? I'm going to tell you another thing. The FBI is only indicting or going after Hillary. Why? Because she betrayed them. They're not doing it because it's the right thing. They're not doing it because she betrayed the American people. She's been betraying the American people for day one. And I also want to leave you with this. I don't trust Trump. Okay? I still don't trust him. I mean, what are you going to do? I'm not going to vote for Hillary. But I don't trust him. I don't trust him. I'm thinking states' rights, man, going back to the 10th Amendment. We don't need D.C., period. So, I'm going to get on to some other videos after this. Probably going to have a silver update after this, and I'm going to actually tell you some things about, stuff that you probably never heard of on the alternative media, because I do look at the major media a lot. And oh, by the way, if you think this is wild shit, I'm telling you, you should see some of the comments I've seen on the major media sources from people that, are part of the libtard media. They don't even buy this story, what went down in freaking Orlando. They don't even buy it. It's already getting out, big time. They're realizing it's a setup just like, 911, and they made the Patriot Act and all that kind of crap. They're realizing. The thing is, we don't fight this now. The one thing the FBI is going to get power over Google, YouTube. So, YouTube, I'm on your side, okay? I'm fighting and working in conjunction with you for freedom of speech. And, I know every time I put one of these videos out, all of a sudden a little monetization button goes blank and you got to request a manual review. And I'm like, there must be like a computer out there saying, he said this, that word popped up, and then therefore, blah. And then, most of the time they're approved. But I'm like, what the hell's going on here, man? I ain't saying nothing wrong. For crying out loud, I don't see how I'm outside the parameters on this. I'm not going down the rabbit hole too far at all. And actually I advise people not to, because you want to actually give people the facts that are most solid. You might want to mention, they might have used a couple crisis actors and shit, fine. But don't concentrate on that too much. You really want to concentrate on that G4S has been dirty for a long period of time, going all the way back to the 90s. Oh, they were even involved in going after people that were snitches on the snitches. That's one way to put them. Whistleblowers. That's the other word. If you believe in what they say, whistleblower. If you work for the corporation, you're a snitch. This whistleblower / snitches on the oil companies. G4S was going after those guys. They were also there to protect the companies from strikers that were, protect the companies from their own workers. It's just a bunch of scumbags. So, anyway. And, this put me over the edge now as far as, all the other shit that's happened before this. I ain't thinking nothing good about the NSA, the CIA, and the FBI at all anymore. You just made one guy, to me, I was mainly pro you guys. I ain't even pro you guys no more anymore. Because I'm thinking, if there's some people in this shit doing this shit for all these years, all these other people are looking the other way, they're all accomplices. If you were like a civilian, you did that shit, that would be conspiracy. It'd be like the label of a criminal organization. So, there's an old expression, who watches the watchers, in Latin, right? I mean, it doesn't really maybe come out to that originally, but it means, who's watching the people that are supposedly protecting us? Looks like nobody. You guys got too much power, man. Time to freaking defund the bullshit. We don't need it. We don't need it. We the people can take care of our own shit. That's the way I look at it. So, you guys are ridiculous, man. CIA is like a communist infiltration agency. It's designed to destroy the American way of life, not to protect the American way of life. The FBI has always been overly corrupted. Even going back to the Untouchables show, it's actually blatantly telling you that they know how to get a handful of untouchables because all the rest of them were dirty. That's the reality of the situation. It's been like that, man. The more money they throw into funding these people due to terrorism or some shit, the worse the problems get. So, even like this crap now, they got the no-fly list. What the hell is that shit? some asshole freaking put you on a no-fly list, you're deemed a terrorist or something. What is this shit? Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. It's bullshit. But yeah, they're going so far that there's going to be serious backlash on this crap. And you know what? Also, if you're the FBI, CIA, or NSA, listen to this video and I'm telling you shit. Oh, you think you're not going to be betrayed by the people over you that are telling you, even if you're the core element that's pulling this shit, they're going to throw you out the door. This kid wasn't born yesterday. I know, like, me putting this out could get me in trouble with you guys, but I'm telling you right now, they're going to throw you out the freaking door. They're going to throw you under the bus, throw you whatever. You're going to be done. You're going to be thinking, oh yeah, you're going to be all hooked up for retirement. They're not going to do that shit. You think, oh, you're going to go work for them, and yeah. You don't know when. You don't know when. You don't know when. Because I know those type of people, the way they think, they'll fuck you into 2 seconds flat. As a matter of fact, if the United States goes down, anybody that was in those organizations might have a little bit of inkling of dedication to and national spirit to the United States. Somebody that's running the global government might just decide to whack all you son of a bitches later on, 15 years down the road or some shit, if the United States is controlled by a global government, which is looks like all these setups, fake false flag bullshit things that are happening right now are moving in that direction. So you're going to be betrayed. So you might want to look at it this way. If you want to actually survive, it's like you're dealing with Hillary Clinton who betrayed your ass, and you're also dealing with a possible global government that's going to come up in the future. You know, global warming funds the carbon tax, which funds global warming. Wait till what happens over the next few winters, especially in the Northeast. You're going to see that's going to look really stupid as far as like, hey, we got global warming. Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, if you're FBI, CIA, NSA looking at my video, because probably you'd be one of my viewers, they're going to betray you. They're going to betray you. They're going to fuck you. You know that? Go read the Bill of Rights a lot. I don't read it like left and right every day or nothing, but I basically know what the hell it says. Now, if you want me to get back in your good graces and shit, I mean, me, you know, where I'm freaking thinking highly of you guys better freaking start freaking exposing these shitheads in your organizations that are doing this shit. And you know what? That ain't freaking doing the wrong thing. It's doing the right thing. Just like in Mena, Arkansas, we had a couple CIA agents that freaking exposed what the Clintons were doing. And, you know, George Bush was around, I think as VP, and Reagan was president, and all this other shit. You know, with the drugs coming into Mena. There was some CIA agents that exposed them. But this shit's getting so freaking ridiculous. I am not thinking too highly of the CIA, NSA, or FBI. And you know, I put out videos criticizing the shit out of Snowden before. This has become the last straw. This is bullshit. I mean, how many times are you guys going to pull freaking false flags on the American people and try to gut the Constitution of the United States? It's getting ridiculous. And yes, YouTube, this is an advertiser-friendly video, even though it's not going to be very popular. You know, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. Like, I don't want to even do these kind of videos. But I got to put out more accurate information than people that are running too far down the rabbit hole and going in these different directions. G4S has always been noted by the Congress and investigated by the Congress as a CIA front company. You know? G4S has been just caught by Judicial Watch bringing in other than Mexican immigrants and dumping them off deep and within the interior United States. That was June, not 2016. Also, you got this James Wesley Howell turned himself into the local police over in California. Initial story was that he was there to do harm to gay parade. He had, you know, assault-style semi-automatic weapons and all that kind of stuff. Well, when he heard Omar and his other accomplice, Omar was killed. There was supposed to be another accomplice with Omar. It probably was. You know, 100 dead and wounded isn't one guy. I can tell you that right now. Even if the door was blocked. And, you know, hey, maybe that's a rumor, but that's a hot story. And I'll post a link to it. So, anyway, Putting this out here is a public service announcement, more or less. And, if we don't fight this shit, pretty soon, they want to control the whole freaking internet, too. Anyway, that's all I got to say, because I can't say too much. That's all I got to say. Over now.